Half-broken remnants of technology drift aimlessly throughout the vacuum, the end result of infighting, Concord raids, or one of 1,000 other common fates suffered by pirate outfits across the cluster. Welcome, pilots! This is the third part of a series that takes a deep dive discussing traditional hacking exploration sites in EVE Online. In this video, I'll be focusing on pirate faction data sites, revealing my loot statistics and discussing how the various items found in data sites can be used. In the previous video, I discussed relic sites. If you're new to running hacking sites, you might want to start with the first part of this series, where I introduced exploring with probe scanners. A myriad of technological marvels inhabit this area of space, the physical guts of a powerful and well-protected computerized network. In high-security space, you can find 8 unique pirate faction data sites, with each of these having its own slight variation based on pirate faction. These sites range in scanning difficulty from level 1 through level 4, with the highest level sites offering more hacking containers. Most of the containers are named Info Shard, though the level 3 and level 4 sites each include containers named Com Tower. You can fail to hack on these containers only once. If you fail a second time, the container will explode, its contents forever lost. There's a wide variety of loot that drops from pirate faction data sites, each with its own purpose. Decryptors are the most common drop, always in stacks of 1. Less common are datacores, which are associated with certain science skills. Both decryptors and datacores are used in a process known as Invention, which I'll discuss later in the video. Somewhat common are molecular condensers, which are one of many components used in the production chain for capital ships. You can also find rare storyline materials and the racial encryption method skillbooks used to manufacture special storyline modules. These are otherwise only found in Cosmos hacking sites found in the Ocalin, Elgintal, Ani, and Eras constellations. And you can find blueprint copies for the Ligature Integrated Analyzer, or outside of high-security space, the Zeugma Integrated Analyzer, along with the 3 high-tech industrial goods that are required to manufacture them. Other blueprint copies you can find include ancillary shield boosters, ancillary armor repairs, or micro-jump drives. Also found in data sites are abyssal jump filaments, which can be used to run abyssal dead space complexes. I plan on producing a separate series on abyssal dead space later this year. And null security jump filaments, which can be used to jump into a somewhat randomized null security system. And finally, you can also find skillbooks for rigging, though I've wondered if this was a mistake in the loot tables, as it feels like it would make more sense if these dropped in relic sites. To gather my loot statistics, I ran 100 high-security data sites for each of the 5 major pirate factions. This first table shows the types of items that can only drop in stacks of 1, regardless of the type of container. This even applies to low or null security data sites. It should be noted, however, that blueprint copies found in higher difficulty hacking containers will provide a higher number of runs. This second table shows items that can drop in larger stacks. The potential stack size is determined by the type of container. This only includes datacores, molecular condensers, and certain types of storyline materials. Molecular condensers only drop in Info Shard containers. In my dataset, the stack sizes for most storyline materials was consistent across the pirate factions, with the exception of the Garista's item named Power Couplings. I should note here that I ran the Garista's sites first, so perhaps the loot tables have been tweaked since then. The ISK value of each of these items will vary over time, based on overall player demand. As of the summer of 2023, the optimized variants of decryptors currently sell for over 5 million ISK each, while even the more common symmetry decryptors sell for over 300,000. Datacores are all fairly evenly priced on the market, in a range from about 75,000 to 85,000 ISK each. And molecular condensers all fall within a range from about 750,000 to 1.3 million ISK each. These prices can make running high-security data sites quite lucrative for young players, especially considering how little it costs to fit a ship to run them. On average, most Info Shard containers will drop 2 types of items, while Com Towers skew a little closer to an average of 3 types of items. However, I have seen even Info Shards drop as many as 7 types of items. The pirate faction determines the types of datacores, molecular condensers, storyline materials, and skillbooks that can drop. All other types of items are common to all pirate factions. The following tables show the total number of each Invention-related item that I found for each pirate faction, starting with the Angel Cartel. Datacores for nuclear physics and Minmatar starship engineering are unique to the Angel Cartel. Moving along to the Blood Raiders. Datacores for Amarian starship engineering, high-energy physics, and laser physics are unique to both the Blood Raiders and Sanchez Nation. I was surprised that no Amar encryption method skillbooks dropped from Blood Raider datasites. And moving to the Guristas, whose only unique datacore is Caldari starship engineering. In my personal loot statistics, it appeared that the datacore for rocket science may be unique to the Guristas as well, but according to the EVE University wiki, it can also drop in Angel datasites. And the Sanchez Nation, whose unique datacores are shared with the Blood Raiders, as previously mentioned. And finally, the Serpentis, whose unique datacores are Galentian starship engineering and plasma physics. This table shows the total number of molecular condensers I found for each pirate faction. Note that each faction only drops 2 of the 4 molecular condensers. These tables show the total number of each storyline item I found for each pirate faction, starting with the Angel Cartel. Angel datasites are loosely associated with the ancient faction called the Sleepers. Moving along to the Blood Raiders, whose associated ancient faction is the Tok'mal. The Guristas, whose associated ancient faction is the Talocan. The Sanchez Nation, who drop Blood Raider faction materials, and are associated with both the Tok'mal and Talocan ancient factions. And finally, the Serpentis, whose associated ancient faction is the Yan Zheng. And this table shows the total number of rigging skillbooks I found for each pirate faction. Each faction will drop jury rigging skillbooks, along with 2 other rigging skillbooks. The one odd result here is the Guristas, who drop electronic superiority and launcher rigging. One might have expected them to drop shield rigging skillbooks and for electronic superiority rigging to be common among all factions. And this final table, available on my website, shows the total number of all items that I found in datasites. It's quite a lengthy list, but even so, there are likely more items out there that have a very small chance of dropping. While I only gathered statistics in high security space, you can extrapolate these stats to low security or null security space. Datasites in dangerous space also feature containers named mainframe or databank, each of which drop increasingly larger bundles of datacores and storyline materials. I suspect they also have a higher chance of dropping optimized decryptors, though always still only in stacks of 1. An alternative to obtaining datacores involves running missions from NPC research and development agents. These missions are relatively passive in nature, as you only need to start a conversation and then check in every so often. Over time, you accumulate research points for a given science skill, which you can then turn in for datacores. As a solo explorer who travels all over New Eden, I personally find myself forgetting that I've even initiated these missions for weeks or even months. So while you can certainly obtain large bundles of datacores this way, how it compares to running datasites probably depends a lot on what type of player you are. For those interested in manufacturing Tech 2 modules, rigs, or even ships, you'll need to understand the process known as Invention. This can be a rather daunting process, especially when trying to manufacture Tech 2 ships, so be prepared for the long haul. The first step is to make a blueprint copy of the associated Tech 1 module from a blueprint original. You can then use the blueprint copy to initiate an invention attempt, which has a randomized chance of success. Each invention job requires specific datacores and uses any one single decryptor. The decryptor determines the chance of success, as well as the attributes of the resulting Tech 2 blueprint copy. Your character also must have trained certain industry and science skills that are specific to that module. Assuming the job was successful, the final step is using the Tech 2 blueprint to manufacture your module. The input materials required for Tech 2 production can be quite daunting, even for basic items like ammunition or drones. So if you're a solo pilot like me who likes the idea of obtaining all the input materials through your own gameplay rather than the market, you might want to temper your expectations when it comes to Tech 2 items. I've added a companion hacking sites guide to my website over at RileyEntertainment.com, which now includes a page detailing the loot statistics covered in this video. You can also find my comprehensive set of video guides for high-security combat sites, covering all 5 major pirate factions, along with my ship fitting guides that are geared towards running combat sites. Stay tuned to Riley Entertainment and smash that like button if you enjoy my content.